So Jeff, Slug Daddy, you here at you there at OTRS Central want an answer to the question of what was WWE's biggest misses of the PG era. Well, let me first of all drink some Baja Blast, which I hope they make permanent and not limited. Now you gave us a category, some honorable mentions and all that. Well, I'm going to go with a couple you mentioned in sort of like your top 10 deal. And I'm going to start off with one that I felt was a big miss. One that was a huge miss. And that was Summer of Punk. WWE's Summer of Punk. And when I think about this, I think back at the fact that even though you could criticize, joke about, and pretty much, piss all over TNA for what they do and some of the dumb dick decisions, excuse my language, that they make. One decision you cannot deny that they probably did correctly, even though behind the scenes they should have had a lot more worked out, was basically the whole AJ Styles deal. See, basically, they did with AJ what WWE didn't do with Punk. They allowed AJ to be the TNA World Champion. They allowed him to go from different promotions and even show freaking footage of it. Of him going to different promotions, AAA, Wrestle One, even though they're associated with them. Maybe even New Japan, some other areas, even some indie shows here in the U.S. and defend the TNA World Heavyweight Championship against different opponents. They went in that direction, a direction that WWE should have gone with CM Punk. Now you might say, now you and some might say, well, probably not you, Jeff, but some others might say, well, they sort of did that with Punk. Oh, yeah. Showing him interrupting a Comic-Con Q&A with Triple H and Rey Mysterio and all that, whoop-de-doo. And oh, by the way, that was on the WWE website. Yeah, these were on TNA's website when they did the whole AJ thing, but that was part of a storyline, same as this. But then, the only official outside WWE appearance you allowed Punk to make was at an indie show a day or two before he went back. And to me, that's pathetic. I mean, you have CM Punk sitting Indian style, if you will, on the Raw stage, doing basically a shoot, a work shoot, whatever you want to call it, airing out his grievances because they say go ahead and say what you want to say. And yet, you don't follow up on that after he wins the belt. I mean, here's a guy that basically talks about Ring of Honor, talks about New Japan, and yet WWE doesn't follow through on that and say, okay, let's have Punk be off television for a couple months, and let's have him go to New Japan, let's have him go to Ring of Honor, let's have him go to CMLL, if you will, because apparently that's who they're going to associate with, possibly. Let's not have him go to some of the promotions in Europe. Let's not have him go to some of the indie promotions. Let's not have him go to Australia and some of the promotions and show footage of him being in different rings against different opponents. I mean, basically, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do what TNA, believe it or not, corrected and did better than you? Even though behind the scenes they messed up contractually with AJ Styles? You don't want to do that? I mean, you freaking showed Ring of Honor footage on his Best in the World documentary. You couldn't just have him, you couldn't make some kind of a negotiation, a deal with Ring of Honor saying, okay, Punk's going to be gone for a while, we're going to have Punk written off television for a while, make it look like he's not without a contract, he's defended the belt, and basically have it agreed upon that, he's going to show up in your promotion, say, hey, I'm back, and by the way, I'm going to defend this belt against the ROH World Champion. They didn't want to do that? Seriously. Who was the ROH champion back then? Kevin Steen? Maybe? Was it Kevin Steen at that time? I can't remember. But whoever the Ring of Honor World Champion was at that time, you couldn't promote it to where they couldn't make some kind of agreement to where Punk would show up in Ring of Honor, defend in a champion versus champion match, maybe title for title, and then have Punk show up back at WWE with both the WWE World title, or both of the WWE Championship and the Ring of Honor Championship? Or they could go out and make a deal with CMLL and say, have Punk do the same thing there and then have him show up with the WWE Championship and the CMLL Championship? Or even New Japan. You couldn't make a deal with New Japan or All Japan and have him go and challenge the new IWGP Champion, win the title there, show up with both belts like that. When he returns, they'll do the same, win the damn Triple Crown in All Japan and have him show up with those? And have him show up with that belt along with the Triple Crown belt? You couldn't even have him come here to California and wrestle and compete in the two top premier indie promotions here as far as I'm concerned. APW, based out of Hayward, California, my hometown. Or PWG, down in Southern California. You couldn't have him show up in one of these areas as part of some kind of negotiation in deal. Have him defend the title and title versus title. Have him show up with those belts when he comes back. I mean, I'm just saying, WWE missed a huge opportunity with this in this PG era. They missed a huge opportunity. I mean, huge. I mean, everything I've mentioned. And look at what it would have done for those other promotions if WWE would have just associated with them for this one storyline. It would have helped WWE, made them look good, saying, hey, we're willing to work with these outside promotions, and, let our champion or champions go up over into the promotions and defend the belts. It would have made them look good. It would have made them look really good. But no, what does WWE do? Oh, well, we're in a PG era now. And if we let Punk do what he wants to do, it's going to hurt us. If we do what Punk suggests we do, it's going to hurt us in the long run because he's going to go out as our champion and probably go out at an indie show or somewhere and start speaking and start foul-mouthing and all that and start swearing and blah, 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 blah. It's going to make us look bad. We can't have that. Let's just bring him back with false promises. Back with some false promises and all that. Blah, 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 blah. Again, all because they were afraid to at least let CM Punk go out and maybe speak without a promo, without a script. Maybe let him speak his mind. Let him shoot. Let him do these defenses in these other promotions, but they don't. But they didn't. They fell back. They were afraid. They were scared. They backed out. And they said, Punk, we can't do that, but we will let you be champion for as long as you have to be when the time is right. Blah, 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 blah. Whatever they freaking promised Punk when he came back. But again, all that for nothing. And everything they could have followed up on, especially with when he did that shoot promo, they could have followed up on it, but they didn't. Nice going, WWE. That's one of the biggest misses you guys had for this PG era. One of the biggest. But speaking of misses, the Nexus. The Nexus. The Nexus! Oh my God. WWE. I mean, Jeff. Chase. Jeff, Chuck Daddy, Chase Oliver, anybody watching. The Nexus. Oh my God. My God. You talk about a big miss on WWE's part to prove everybody wrong. To prove every single critic out there wrong in stating that they never let the young talent go over. They never pushed the young talent and make them the new stars, the new faces, the new players of the company. You talk about the biggest miss ever. They had the opportunity to do that with the Nexus. They basically, I mean, this is how they portrayed the Nexus. They portrayed them as their own little young version, well not little, but their own young version of the NWO. Because practically everybody, except for Wade Barrett, was an outsider. Everybody initially, that first night, was an outsider. Daniel Bryan, Michael Tarvin, Ryback, or Ryan Reeves at that time. Heath Slater, Justin Gabriel. The list can go on. The list can go on. Who else was there? Like David Otunga, there's another guy. I mean, here you have this group of guys. These 7 individuals, original, 7 individuals, or 6 individuals, whatever you want to call it. And you couldn't, and WWE blew it. And how did they blow it? They blew it right off the bat. They blew it right off the bat with SummerSlam. And yet now you have Edge, Adam Copeland coming out and even saying that after the match, John Cena regretted not letting these guys go over. How are you going to establish a major heel faction, a major outside heel faction, if you will? Your own aggressive, your own younger, if not more aggressive version of the NWO. Your own aggressive version, your own younger, aggressive version of the NWO in the Nexus. A young group of guys that you could have easily made into a huge deal. How can you sink the boat on that? How can you do that? I mean, this had potential. And how do you right the wrong? How do you right the wrong? Oh, let's see. 2 months later, you right the wrong by having them freaking enslave John Cena. You right the wrong by basically having them force John Cena, thanks to the interference of the 2 new members, McGillicuddy, Curtis Axel now, and Husky Harris, Bray Wyatt now. You try to right the wrong with them. You try to right the wrong with them by what? By what? By having John Cena be forcibly a member of the Nexus? By having him do what a lot of people wanted to see him do, and that's put the Nexus colors on just briefly? And then what? And all for what? And all for what? Just so you can have John Cena supposedly fired. And this is a guy that's a fan of John Cena, believe it or not saying this, but having him fired, and for what? Just so he could come back unemployed, but seemingly acting like he's employed, music starts up, everything, show up, attack the Nexus one by one, get rehired, even though he was not technically fired, get rehired by Wade Barrett, have a match with Wade Barrett at TLC, lose, and thus have Wade Barrett lose to John Cena, and thus you kill permanently all momentum the Nexus had. And then how do you try to keep it alive? Oh, well, let's make CM Punk, and this is actually at the start of the year, and this is actually the start of it, and this is at the beginning of the year where he's on the verge of building himself up to that Summer of Punk deal. Oh, let's make CM Punk leader of the Nexus and make him just a different version of the straight edge society. Let's make a more younger version, a more expanded, younger version of the straight edge society. Let's have CM Punk do that. Let's do that. No, let's split off the members of the original group. Maybe with the exception of maybe what's in it. Oh, hold on for a second. And you're basically like, oh, and let's take three members of the original Nexus group, Wade Barrett, Heath Slater, and Justin Gabriel, three of the more talented members, if you will, and let's split them off onto SmackDown, make them SmackDown roster stars. Let's add in Ezekiel Jackson, and let's have the core. Let's have the core versus the next. Let's have the core, if you will. The core. Really? And yet you have an opportunity there to do the core versus the Nexus, and you don't do it? Talking about screw the pooch on it. I mean, WWE had so much potential with the Nexus. I mean, you had divas down in NXT or FCW at that time basically saying, hey, guess who might be the first diva member of Nexus? That's how you had people. It's like, you know, I look at this and they had such a potential. You could have easily made them like an outside-in group. I mean, but you screwed the pooch. And you know what? One of the ways you really screwed the pooch is you did not let Wade Barrett become champion. I mean, you have all these storylines with all these factions in WWE, TNA, ROH, PWG, whatever. You have all these different factions. You have all these different factions, all these different companies, and every single leader of that faction says, hey, when you're the real power, basically coming out and saying that the real power lies within being the champion, lies within holding the world championship of that company. And yet, the biggest mistake, besides not letting the Nexus go over at SummerSlam, which they should have, you don't let Wade Barrett win the WWE World Heavyweight the WWE Championship. You don't let him win it. You don't let him win it at Night of Champions. You don't let him win it at Survivor Series against Randy Orton, thus enabling John Cena to be free. I mean, think how much more your buy rates would have been for TLC if you would have had Wade Barrett beat Randy Orton with John Cena as the referee, maybe straight up, fair and square, clean, who knows. And then after John Cena raises Wade Barrett's hand and says, okay, here's your new champion, your new victor, he ends up F-Uing him, attitude adjusting him, and saying, now that I'm free, I'm your first challenger. I'm going to be the guy that takes the belt away from you at TLC or whatever. Set up if they can make that chairs match or whatever it was, and for the WWE, you could have made it for the WWE Championship, and yeah, you could have had Wade Barrett lose the belt to Cena at TLC in 2010, but you know what? You would have had more reasoning behind it, because one, Cena would have been freed, and they would have a purpose, not only to get rid of the Nexus, but get the WWE title away from the Nexus. It would have made more sense. And heck, you could even have the Nexus go as far as to say, we're going to now name it the Nexus World Title, or the Nexus Championship. And heck, even have them replace the spinning W with a spinning N. I'm just saying. All these opportunities just blown out of the water thanks to WWE. Again, second biggest miss. Third biggest miss? Third biggest miss. Third biggest miss. I think anybody would agree with this, and Jeff, you're not alone. Biggest miss, ending the streak. How can you not have a lot of build-up to this matchup? How can you not dig into the history of Brock Lesnar Undertaker and allow that to help build this matchup? How can you not dig into, them confronting each other at a UFC events to build to this matchup? How can you not do that? How? Huh? How? Because you didn't want to? What? Because you were trying to, what? Imitate the UFC and saying, hey, we're just going to make it a serious one-on-one fight, no real feud, no real reasons? Is that it? Is that it? No real feud, no real reason. That's why you want to do it? Just because you want to, make yourself make it look like a straight shoot fight like the UFC? Huh? You don't do that. You build on it. And you have tons of history to build upon. You could have had Paul Heyman come out and say that this is the one guy that even though Undertaker is undefeated at WrestleMania, that Brock Lesnar is undefeated against The Undertaker. That The Undertaker has never beaten Brock Lesnar. You could have built with that. You could have helped build this match with that kind of stuff. You could have had Paul Heyman come out and sort of a work shoot say all the times, even when Taker was the American Badass or was Dead Man Inc., that all those times he could not beat Brock Lesnar. And he could have named things like the Hell in a Cell match. The match at Unforgiven, the Hell in a Cell match, that he could never beat Brock Lesnar. And that just like The Undertaker at that time was 20-0 at WrestleMania, undefeated, Brock Lesnar was undefeated against The Undertaker. And WWE couldn't use that to build to this? Couldn't use a little confrontation at the UFC event to build to this? You couldn't do that? You couldn't do that? You couldn't incorporate maybe some backstage story with maybe have Michelle McCool show back up and kind of talk The Undertaker, Mark, out of doing this because this is a different Brock Lesnar than when he fought before and that times have changed, he's older. You couldn't do that? And even with the match, you couldn't just have, after he F5s him for the third time, you couldn't have him as he's about to go for the cover, go for the Hell's Gate once again, and finally have him tap and have Brock tap out, but at least say that even in defeat, Brock dominated the match and was this close, so close, even with 3 F5s, and he couldn't get the job done. And yet you still make him look dominant because you have Taker basically having to walk out the way he did, but almost, you could have had Taker stretched out again, for goodness sakes, if that was the case. The point is, this was not the right time to do this. Not the right time. And I think WWE is starting to realize that now. I'm thinking that, you have Paul Heyman keep advocating that his client beat the streak, he beat the streak, he beat the streak. You know what that tells me? It tells me WWE is starting to regret what they did, and maybe by some miraculous miracle they might put an exclamation mark on there and say, yeah, he didn't really beat the streak because The Undertaker wasn't in any condition during the match. Put an exclamation mark, and then let's say, have him rematch when Taker's all fully recovered, maybe fully healed, have a rematch at the 31st WrestleMania, have Taker maybe get back his win, and then if he wins, let's say takes away that one mark, and he does now 21-0. Makes sense. Why would you have Paul Heyman keep shoving it down our throats? Unless, of course, you're going to build towards Cesaro and Lesnar at SummerSlam with the storyline that Cesaro, with the possible post-match storyline of Cesaro beat the man that beat the streak, that Cesaro is better than Lesnar. But still, this was not the best time, and I think WWE is starting to realize that. So unless they find a way to fix it and say this match never really happened, we're going to put an asterisk next to it. Maybe build up a storyline to where if Undertaker beats Brock in a rematch, Undertaker gets back his undefeated streak and that one loss goes away. You know, that's the only way you could justify it. It's the only way. And if that's not the case, you have Cesaro facing Lesnar at SummerSlam, Cesaro winning, then you have Cesaro face Undertaker, and thus, in a sense, you get Undertaker's victory, his loss, that one loss back. You get that undefeated streak sort of back by having Taker beat Cesaro. Thus, you would have Taker beat the man that beat him, and there you go. I know it sounds confusing, but still, that's the only way you could rectify it, because right now, this is one of the biggest mistakes they've made. And the fact that you had to decide of how it was going to happen, the ending result was going to happen almost moments before the match. Look, I know WrestleMania wanted to be, I know they wanted the 30th WrestleMania to be memorable and have its moments and have people talking even to this day, and it has done that. But you don't go about it this way. You don't. Like I said, if you wanted to, you could have easily just had him hit the 3 F5s, then have Taker put the Hell's Gate on, and there you go. Tap out, but you still show that Lesnar dominated, and then you could have Taker leave the way he did, and who knows, or maybe have him stretched out. I don't know. But to me, that, along with the Summer of Punk and the Nexus, are the 3 biggest misses the WWE has made in the PG era. And I hope to God they don't make any more misses. They don't make any more mistakes. Right now, as much as I'm a John Cena fan, and I respect John Cena no matter what people think about him, the way they're going with Bray and Cena, Wyatt and Cena, unless they have Wyatt somehow go to a draw with Cena and both can't answer the 10 count, or Wyatt somehow does go over, if he loses to Cena at Payback, unless it's a draw or unless somehow some kind of shenanigans happen to allow Wyatt to go over, Bray Wyatt could be the next big miss if they're not careful. And that's all I'm saying. So, let me know what you guys think though. And I'd love to hear from Chase Oliver. I'd love to hear from you, Schleg Daddy. I'd love to hear from, anybody here. The Lex Man. Let me know what you guys think about my 3 misses that I feel WWE made in the PG era in response to the OTRS Central video. Let me know what you think. Comment below. God bless, guys, and I'll take care, and I'll talk to y'all later.